part is, because of the way their mouths are, it seems like they're forming a different word. And I'm wondering if there's subversive messaging, or if people were to be concerned about something going on, or when the goal is gum or gun or plum, then the road is lonely and long, or something like that. And I was like, did she say gun? Or does it sound like gun or gum? So either one, gum would be straight to the gum line. You know, people who are using drugs. And in fact, I think I just read something about someone's child. They were rubbing alcohol on the child's gums too much, and it might have caused death, an infant. But I've heard gum and then gun, and if the goal is gun, I think it's like that, then the road is lonely and long. So if that could like play into the idea of people who want to harm themselves or others. And I'm wondering if it's sort of like a sign, if they secretly kind of send out messages, whether for good or for bad. Anyway, all of that can play into subversive, subliminal messaging. I have to get a few of these just to be on the safe side. So I take pride in trying not to spend too much money on something that I wasn't supposed to be doing, and that is walking dogs. And there are about 5,000 people who know that I wasn't supposed to be walking dogs. And I sort of had to put up with it while everybody played their games. I couldn't figure out how to get out. I tried. I have a whole, I have accounts with all the universities and everything. I had to do all that, trying to put my resume in. Had a couple interviews, but they were really odd, and didn't work out, but that's okay, because we'll just get into how people are handled in Philadelphia, and who needs who for what, and why you can't find your way out of your circle. So there are a lot of people who would like to get out of their circles. It's like, we always meet the same people. I want to meet someone way over here, way over there. Why is it that I can't connect with those people? You'd have to go on like it would have to be a job or a career to be someone who tries to connect with everybody else in the nation, you know what I mean? From different groups. It's hard to do while you're still trying to earn a living. And also, there's a lot of rejection along the way, because the community giants do and don't want certain people in their circles. That's a fact. So that's the sucky part of life. There are people who are very privatized. You have to have an interview with a board. If you want to buy property at this building here, 1820, there's a little bit of a process. You don't just get in, unless they're really desperate and need the money, but they do go through a process at some of these properties. We'll say private, but some people think that's government run, but still, you have to interview with the HOA or the housing organization. There's a whole process, and there are people who might actually go through a certain process, believe they're going to live here, but they're rejected by the board. And it's like, you just think, most people would think, oh, can I look at a property here? No, there's a whole process to make sure people wind up in certain places and not in others. You'd have to have a lot of money and be able to buy your way past all those people, or create your own own building, if you will, for your own people. I'm still not kidding. You can't just walk in and expect to buy something unless you have so much money that it's ridiculous. You have, and you could look at it this way. You might sit down with the board and think, ooh, I don't want to live amongst these people. Ugh, help us. They are too much. So there's always that side. That's the positive way to look at it. Should you feel rejected, or, so on and so on. Let me get a few more, so we'll balance it out. So we have the supply up. There's a biker here who's technically, I don't think you're allowed to ride bikes in technically. They have signs like nothing with wheels. So no skateboards, no bikes, no mopeds, electric bikes, this, that, and the other. And it's funny because I had an electric skateboard and I rode through once, but it wasn't that crowded. But I got stopped by security, you know, in Rittenhouse Square. The following weekend, I would see like 3 women who were who were playing up a whole thing, and they were riding through in dresses, no less, on longboard skateboards. And first of all, the fact that they could even ride the skateboards was, you know, somewhat impressive or miraculous in and of itself. But also, I'm like, no one's yelling at them. Why'd I get picked on? Now, granted, mine had a battery. I'm wondering if that's the difference. I think the sign says you can't ride anything through the park. But anyway, it smells like bacon around here. It always does, between Metropolitan Bakery and Pizza and Marathon Grill. This is the other there are a couple Marathon Grills. Is there a third one? There are at least 2 in the Rittenhouse area. This is really the Rittenhouse Marathon Grill here off to the left. Marathon on the Square, and this is 19th and Spruce. The other Marathon, where they have the black topping, which you can see in one of the other videos I just posted, is at 16th and Sansom. So anyway, should we go STR? Turn. Go this way. We have to test to see who's disappointed or not. We have to test to see who can hear, believes we're going one way or the other. The Muse. This was not called the Muse in the past. I used to live on 19th Street, and I wrote Duplicity and Duress, Snap Factories in the Making, and Writers Need a Muse. A muse is a source of inspiration, or it would be like this idea that there's a character in the sky, a muse that inspires you to write music, books, movies, plays, whatever. Now, the more religious or perfect among us would see it as amuse. Let's amuse or humor someone for a while. But they would be self-righteous and a little bit too uppity in terms of making fun of people who are trying to make a living or don't know any different. Like, why would somebody know different? There are millions and billions of people who make their lives through artistry. Are they all fallen from God? How do you make a living? Not everybody can be the exact same thing. You know what I mean? So anyway, new sidewalk here as part of this sidewalk area. So say everybody in the universe was a doctor. I'm trying to think what's pro-God. Everyone would have to be a preacher. Cabinets here. Everyone would have to be, I'm trying to think what would be perfect enough for the most self-righteous among us, for the most righteous. Your whole day, and in America you can't do this, but your whole day, unless you decide to become a preacher, but that's a whole path, and it's very rare to be able to do that. Then you have to depend on other people to provide for you, and you have to ask for donations and stuff. That sucks. So what kind of nation would we be, or what would we look like if everyone were on a path considered righteous based on whoever wrote the book, and they had to write the book on righteousness?